buttons that record this. Kim, if you would, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Present.
Senator Thomas.
Here.
Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Pollock.
Here.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Present. So I know that we do have a quorum, constituted to do business. So the first item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes of the July 9th meeting of the committee. Is there a motion that they be considered?
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Total number of items on the agenda today are 413 in the amount of $552,958,734.95. All vendors are now registered with the Secretary of State's office. First, we will take up the deferred list. First item on the deferred list is with Murray State University. It is number 277 on the July PSC green list. Don't even have to ask the representative here because he's running to the desk. Because I understand you were running from the parking lot, so just if you would, please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, sir. Jordan Smith, Assistant Vice President of Public Affairs, Murray State University.
Jordan, good to have you here. If you would, please
Thank
raise
you.
your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so Representative Pollock has questions about this contract.
Thank you for being here this morning. Just a couple of questions. Obviously, a lot of the contracts we pull is for, I guess, paying the light bill, paying the bills, and also those type of things. This one here is about mental health concerns on the campuses, particularly Murray State. And I just wanted to have an opportunity for you to share what that looks like, why. I mean, obviously, we know about the mental health concerns we're dealing with, but tell us what's going on Murray State's campus in this particular project. What's
Sure.
going on?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Pollock and Chair Meredith, members of the committee. So Murray State University, we currently have in place on-campus mental health counseling with typical 8 to 4:30 hours, Monday through Friday. We also have a psychological center that has various hours for in-person. But what our students have continued to ask for and what we've seen a need for is 24/7 telehealth for counseling. And so we've contracted with a company called Timely Care, and they provide both medical health services to over 350 universities nationwide. We're only contracting with them for the provision of mental health services via telehealth. So they will provide 24/7, 365 resources for students in need. So that means if a student, let's say from out of state, from Tennessee or Missouri, they can actually access telehealth counseling through their phone through an app when they're home for Christmas break, on summer break, if they're enrolled as a student, and obviously Kentucky students as well. And so we're really excited about this. Students can join a peer discussion group. Students can contact a hotline through the app that can provide some immediate assistance. It can refer them to additional counseling services. All of the counselors through Timely Care are fully licensed, everything like that. And they're going to really work in coordination with our current MSU MSU counseling office. And so, again, we've just seen a need for this, in particular out-of-state students, because our on-campus counseling can really only see Kentucky students if they have a Kentucky counseling license. Mm-hmm. So we're really excited about this, and we're meeting the needs that our students are asking for, and also parents and family members have brought this to our attention as well. Can our students just have additional counseling services?
So obviously it's 24/7 access. Yes. Are you seeing or hearing, obviously, across the state or other colleges and universities, is this
Yes,
provided?
Yes, there's a lot in our multi-state region. Belmont University uses this Timely Care. I believe Morehead State uses it. They use it specifically just for their athletes, but we have broadened it to all students, including athletes. And I'll say something too about our athletes. Many times, because of their traveling schedule, they can't use our on-campus health counseling because sometimes they can't get to an office between 8 to 4:30 with practices and games. But this will allow them to use Timely Care when they're traveling, when they're in their hotel room, before an out-of-state game or whatever. So
Just a question, one more, Mr. Chair. Do you know if this is available at the high school level?
So Timely Care is available for K-12 faculty and staff, and they've just broadened it to that. It is not available for K-12 students at this time. There may be some legal reasons as to why that is, but I do know that Timely Care is available for K-12 teachers and staff members.
Are you seeing a rise over the last few years for you to bring this new service to your campus?
Yes. I mean, I think particularly since the pandemic, I think most universities and K-12 schools, as you've mentioned, that's been the number one need is mental health services.
Thank you, sir, for the information. Mr. Chair, if there's no other questions, I make a motion.
Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Senator Thomas. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed will vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for being
Thank
available
you.
to us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the deferred list with the Office of Controller and is number 315 on the July PSC Green List. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name is Robert Long. I'm General Counsel for the Finance and Administration Cabinet.
Good morning. Nathan Goins with the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet.
Welcome. Thank you for being here this morning. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I believe Senator Douglas has questions regarding this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Long and Mr. Goins, for being here this morning. When I originally took a look at this particular contract, I really was looking for more information, and my original question was, who is actually receiving the services of the contract? I know we're paying the dentist, but who are the dentists actually seeing? Because I think sometimes as people across the Commonwealth look at how these contracts are designed, they want to make sure that we're being efficient in terms of who is utilizing the services that they are paying for. So could you help us a little bit in telling us about that?
If you don't mind, I'm going to request a program person to come up to discuss that portion of it. Is that okay?
Yeah. Is it okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please proceed. Again, identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. I am Lori Denhart, and I am the Assistant Director of Administrative Services at the Department for Juvenile Justice.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. If you would, please raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Senator, please proceed.
Absolutely. So, to your question, for the services, they will actually be rendered at our facilities that are placed all across the states. When I say facilities, that's detention centers, that's youth development centers, and that's day treatment centers.
And Senator, I would like to note that this originally was procured in 2022. This is a renewal, so it will be providing services. It was procured on behalf of the Department of Corrections, so we'll also be offering services at other correctional facilities. But this particular renewal and modification did add the Department of Juvenile Justice, so there will be additional services now provided at their facilities.
May I ask another question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please proceed.
You stated that they're that at the detention center and other facilities such as that. Are all those facilities do they have the appropriate equipment and the appropriate office space and the appropriate personnel to handle? Does the dentist come into your facility, or explain to us how that works?
Absolutely. So the way the contract is set up is that our facilities reach out to the vendor and they do a schedule with them. They come by, I believe it's once a month, and they schedule with the facility. The facility will prepare a list of all the juveniles that need to be seen, whether it be for a routine cleaning or that they're having an issue of some sort. The mobile dentistry comes in. We have a clean setup for them. They balance a list against the list of juveniles that we have prepared. We turn that over to the vendor. The vendor balances that list against all the juveniles that they see that day, and then they send us an invoice at the end of the month.
So are they using mobile dental facilities?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
that's the question I needed to
Oh,
answer.
I apologize, sir.
Thank you also very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Kim, if you would, please call the row.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all for being available to us
Thank
this
you.
morning.
Thank you.
Come see us again sometime. Nah. Next item on the deferred list with Education and Labor Cabinet is number 514 on the July MOA pink list. You act like maybe you've done this before. Huh?
Actually not.
Oh, really? Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see who has questions about this. Oh, I'm sorry. If you would please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, my name is Ann Jewell. I'm the president and CEO of the Governor's School.
Is your mic on? I'm not sure. Green light
Green
lit.
light's on.
A little bit closer.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Hit it again. Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
My name is Ann Jewell. I'm the president and CEO of the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs.
Thank you for being here. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please, Representative Pollock has questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here this morning. Put my light on. Obviously, my daughters were involved in Governor Scholars. And then there's Governor Scholars of Arts.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to take the opportunity this morning, obviously with a $2 million investment in this, to have the opportunity you to share to us the Governor Scholar of Entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's kind of fairly new, but and so just if you don't care, just share about what that's going on. This is truly an investment back to these entrepreneurs, and for the record, I do get. I don't know if the senators or representatives, but my constituents and my local high school students who participate in your school, obviously with the Governor's Scholars and the Governor's Scholar of Arts, I get the neatest thank you cards for those who are participating in your program. So it excites me. I just kind of wanted to have the opportunity for you to share what that looks like for your school.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. We are newer than the other governor's schools and the Governor's Scholar program, so we are still raising awareness. And we're very thankful for the chance to talk about it anytime, anywhere. I'm happy to do it, and also very appreciative of the support that we've gotten since 2013, when we very first started the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs. Since that time, we've served high school students. We're approaching 1,100 high school students. And then this past summer, we crossed an exciting threshold. We've covered 101 counties so far, which we're really excited about. They've started over 70 businesses right here in the Bluegrass, and that's just the high school level. We also have Collegiate Pitch, which is the next step in their entrepreneurial journey here in the Bluegrass. And the programs are interrelated so that once we identify these students who have the greatest potential to create jobs and businesses here in Kentucky, we try to offer that support every step of the way and really encourage them to stay here in Kentucky and make that investment. Over 40 businesses at the collegiate pitch level have been awarded funding to help pursue their dreams here in Kentucky and create jobs here in Kentucky. 2016 was when when the Kentucky Entrepreneurship Education Network was created to run the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs. After those first few years when we started, we're a nonprofit. Kentucky Entrepreneur Education Network is a independent nonprofit that was created to run the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs, and that's what we've been doing.
Well, this is truly an investment, and one of the good ones. I feel like,
you.
especially when they're staying here in our state, investing back into our state. Curious to know what it looked like when you first started 2013.
So in 2013, we had about 50 students was the initial class. This past summer, we had 160.
Wow.
Yes, so we've been growing. These last few years in particular have been pretty substantial growth for us with the summer startup program for the high school students, and then the collegiate pitch program, a similar kind of thing where we're trying to raise awareness about it and lay out that groundwork so that the students can see their future here in Kentucky.
It'd be curious to see the success, too, from those who started in 2013.
Yes.
You know, the 10-year and just what that looked like again on that awareness. And then obviously the investment, the Commonwealth is making toward not just your school, but this other two schools as well. So
we have a marketplace brochure. Now that we've reached, just crossed that 10th anniversary threshold, we're getting enough sort of, a swell, right, of alumni. Where we've started we call it the ecosystem, which is our alumni program, to continue to help them even beyond high school and college, where we have a brochure that promotes all the businesses and other ways, mentoring, other ways to try to just keep the momentum going here in Kentucky.
do you know a percentage of how many actually go outside of the state to further their education, whether it's college or technical schools or whatever that looks like?
Sure. Yeah, we look at it in terms of how many stay, and we've got the flip side of that is how we sort of look at that. And numbers-wise, we know that it's at least 61% that stay that in Kentucky to go to college or are in college in Kentucky right now.
Good deal. Mr. Chair, it's all I have. Thank you so much. Very, very interesting, and I truly feel like this was a really solid investment back to our high school students and future generation of entrepreneurs.
We deeply appreciate that. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator Douglas.
I just want to, good morning. I just want to thank the Governor's Scholarship Program. I really want to encourage our parents to very early start thinking about some of these programs. All three of ours went through the Governor's Scholar Program. Unfortunately, you didn't work hard enough to keep them in the Commonwealth, but they learned a great deal, and I think that we need those role models. We need those parents who are going to step up and encourage their children to look into these things, because these are really, really, really great options for the future of the kids here in the Commonwealth. So I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments? If not, entertain a motion. Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of the contract will vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas,
Richard, may I very briefly explain my aye vote?
Yes, please.
I want to second what Senator Douglas said. You know, I have 3 children too. My daughter Joanna, my son Leonard, and my son Philip also all went through the Governor's Scholars Program. It is a tremendous program, and I would encourage every parent. I've got grandchildren. I got a granddaughter that just started high school. and I'm going to prepare her to go through the Governor's Scholars Program as well. It's an excellent program. Keep up the fine work.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for visiting
you.
this morning, making yourself
Appreciate it.
available to us.
Thank you.
Our last item on the deferred list with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority is number 539 on the July MOA pink list. I believe representatives are testifying virtually. Are you on the line?
I'm right,
Oh,
I'm
no,
right here.
live and in person. Sorry. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Welcome.
If you would, please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Megan Sandfus. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Broadband Development.
If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions about this contract. Certainly, implementation of the broadband internet program throughout Kentucky is vital to our future. And I guess one of the most contentious things, you wouldn't think so, but is the pole placement issue. We've allocated $2 million for this initiative, and just want to make sure that that's what the funds are used for. Can you give me that assurance and talk a little bit about that, how the funds are going to be distributed?
Yes. So this $2 million contract with the Association of Electric Cooperatives was an appropriation made in the budget. That was a carve out from the 19 million and change that was allocated for the overall pole replacement program. This was to help the electric cooperatives with some of those delays and other obstacles that you're talking about that are an obstacle to broadband deployment. It's not just the cooperatives; it's all pole owners that have capacity issues with how quickly they're able to process the pole attachment permits, and for every pole that a broadband project touches, there has to be a separate engineering study for those poles for the make ready. So that is a capacity issue, especially when there's billions of dollars that are being invested in broadband deployment right now.
Obviously, we're dealing with a lot of different providers in Kentucky, and maybe even more so urban versus a rural situation. But those who are not part of the cooperative effort, will they receive any of these funds?
Yes.
Okay.
So there was also additional funding carved out for workforce development related to capacity in some of the pole. For some of the pole owners, as well as everybody is able to access the remaining funds that are for the pole replacement. So it's a reimbursement program. If a broadband provider incurs a cost to replace a pole, they're able to submit those costs for reimbursement to us. And we can reimburse up to $5,000 or 50% of the cost of the pole.
Well, obviously, we're very proud of the allocation we made towards the implementation of broadband throughout Kentucky. Will $2 million cover it?
So I think this is $2 million for 1 year. So if this is something that continues to be a need, the funding that was allocated was for just 1 year, and so it's up to you all to if we don't spend it or if there's more next time. But we do have the next, We're hoping that for the BEAD program, which we're opening up our pre-application, pre-qualification phase tomorrow, we're hoping that when the applicants come in, they're able to anticipate some of the higher costs that have been occurring with the make ready and the pole permitting process.
Not to put you on the spot, but where do you think we are in terms of total implementation in the state? Are we 75, 80% covered, or is that being optimistic?
So, service-wise, we're I think about 88% served, but the remaining 12% are the hardest ones to get to because they're often rural and more spread out. So that is the gap that we're filling with the broadband deployment program.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your work. I appreciate that. It certainly is vital for the future of Kentucky. Any questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion to approve. Motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton.
Aye.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. And thank you for being available to us this morning.
Thank
and
you.
attending the meeting in person. I appreciate that. We've gone through all the deferred items, and now we've got to get into this month's business. So, next order of business, consideration of the agenda, including the deferred list, personal service contract list, personal service contract amendment list, memorandum of agreement list, memorandum of agreement amendment list, and the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program agreement list, and the corrections list, except for those items selected for further review. Is there a motion to consider the contract review without objection?
Motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor vote aye. All those vote no. Please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. So the first item on the pull list are with the Department of Highways are numbers 14 through 21 on the PSC green list and number 14 on the PSC amendment ivory list. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Chairman Meredith. I'm Eric Pelfrey. I'm our Director of Professional Services for the Cabinet, and I'm joined by Mr. Mike Vaughn. He is our project manager for these contracts.
Thank you for
Good
that
morning.
Thank you for that introduction. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
I do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Senator Douglas, you have questions? Several questions.
Just a few. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Pelfrey and Mr. Vaughn, for joining us this morning. Would love to have you here, but I know sometimes that doesn't happen. I look at these contracts, and they're very consistent. And one of the things, as you know, is that I want to make sure that the people of the Commonwealth understand how some of their tax dollars are being spent. And we really appreciate the job that you guys do on the roads. But in this particular case, I want to know, traditionally, when we look at these contracts, how much money is generally spent? Because a lot of times we approve the contracts and for a certain amount of money, and then we find out, well, they're only using about 20% of that money, or maybe they're using 50% or 80%. And our taxpayers don't know that. They see the numbers, and the numbers make their heads swell. So could you help us a little bit this morning in understanding how you approach the spending of these dollars?
Yeah, I'll gladly start, and then Mr. Vaughn, you can jump in with the actual projects. But thank you, Senator Douglas, for your question and time to present to you guys today. These contracts are all statewide contracts, like you mentioned. We have an upset limit, which does not mean that we'll utilize the full amount, but it gives us the contracting authority to do so if we need to. The way that these projects are assigned, each project that is assigned is typically for a smaller contract, which each one of those projects, is already approved through our 6-year plan. So Mr. Vaughn takes smaller jobs from those. One of the main things that we try to focus on is safety. So he takes some smaller safety jobs and allows for each of the consultants that are on contract to issue a work order to start on those individual smaller jobs. And a little bit more, this contract, I believe, has been in place for 3 or 4 cycles, and he's done a really good job of utilizing the appropriate amount of consultants. Not always does this happen, but on this one specifically, we've gone from 5 firms up to 7 firms. The past cycle was 6 firms, and now we're up to 8 firms. And again, the intent is just to make sure that we have a robust group of consultants that can perform the work, but also we don't want to issue $2 million contracts and then only utilize $200,000 worth, or vice versa. We also don't want to issue a $2 million contract and not be able to get through the full 2-year cycle doing so. So I think Mr. Vaughn's done a really good job of of setting an appropriate and reasonable amount for each of those contracts.
Yeah, I think this might be the 5th or 6th cycle, Eric, but we've utilized the full upset limit on every contract in every iteration of these groupings of contracts. So we've really been putting the money to work, so to speak. And we have a fairly large number of firms each cycle because what we like to say is safety is urgent. And so by having a wide pool of firms to choose from, we're able to develop and deliver projects quite a bit more efficiently than if we only selected a lesser number of firms with a bigger upset limit. So we try to keep about a $2 million upset limit and then expand and contract the number of firms as we need from each 2-year cycle.
May I ask another question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Okay, gentlemen, I appreciate the information. However, it sort of answered my question, but not really. My question was, how much of the contract do you generally spend? And what I'm hearing that alarms me just a little bit is that we try to make sure that we use all the money that we're allotted. And when the public hears that, that's really scary.
No, that's not the case, Senator Douglas. What we try to do is, it's obviously hard to project 2 years out, but what we try to do based on the highway plan and the types of projects that are in that highway plan, we try to project an appropriate amount of contracts. And I think actually in this cycle, we got really close to the 100%. I think we're not quite there yet, but we actually re-advertised this contract a little bit early prior to the 2-year cycle because we were expecting to hit the $2 million per firm. And again, that's, I think, one of the reasons why we increased from 6 firms to 8 firms, knowing that this type of work is paramount for our citizens, keeping them safe on our roadways.
Again, I hear that and I respect that. I guess what I really want to hear is that we take a look at the projects, the most vital projects that we need to be doing, and we try to be as efficient as we can in spending the money that we are allotted. And sometimes we run up against the ceiling, and sometimes we don't. And that really is I don't have a problem with the contracts. I just want to make sure that we're speaking the language that people can understand, because there is some concern. I know this may be hard to believe, but there is some concern that sometimes the government is not very efficient in terms of how they spend money. And I'd like to give people an opportunity to come on and say, okay, we do care. We are taking care, and we're trying to be efficient with the money that you're providing for us. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. And I apologize for not understanding the initial question, but maybe to back up just a step further, it's obviously cheaper and more cost conscious to do things with in-house resources. So that's our first goal. We always want to utilize cabinet employees to do the work if we can. Unfortunately, we don't have enough engineers to carry out all the work that we have. So we have to utilize our consultants. When we do, of course, those consultants are a little bit more expensive than our internal people, but we don't look at this as a blank check. We absolutely are cost conscious. Once we select the consultants and we authorize contracts with them, we still negotiate every single contract. We make sure that we squeeze every penny out of those consultants. We want to make sure that we don't cut them too deep, because we need them to provide quality services. But at no time is cost not always on our mind.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pelfrey. I do really appreciate that clarification, and I think the people who are listening to this today really appreciate that clarification. Thank you both. Thank both you gentlemen for coming today. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
And second.
Motion by Senator Thomas. I think the Representative Chester Burton was the second on that motion. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And thank you, gentlemen, for being available to us this morning and providing us the information requested.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list are with the Department of Insurance. Our number is 24, 25, and 26 on the PSC green list. And I believe we have a virtual.
We have an ivory one for the Department of Highways.
I'm sorry.
It's to number 14 on the PSC amendment. Thank you, Jared.
Got ahead of myself. Yes, thank you, Jared. This was also for the Department of Highways on the PSC green list. It's number 14 on the PSC amendment ivory list. So, gentlemen, are you still available to us?
Yes, sir. I'm still here. I believe this contract will actually be handled by our Director of Purchases, which is Laura Hagan, and the Brent Spence Project Manager, which is Stacy Hands. But I'll also stay on just in case.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. If you would, since we have someone new, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. Laura Hagan, Director of the Division of Purchases for KYTC.
Thank you, Ms. Hagan. Appreciate you being available to us. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Sorry for the delay here. Wanted to find my notes. My question regarding this contract, it's number 14 on our personal service contract amendment list, is that we're increasing by $4 million, which brings the total contract amount to $9.7 million. And the description is add additional funds for phase 1 pre-construction design build assistance. I understand. I recognize there's additional work here, but why wasn't this included in the original estimate? What's caused to increase this almost double? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I'm going to defer that question to Stacy, the project manager.
Good morning, Chairman Meredith. My name is Stacy Hands, and I'm the Kentucky or the KYTC project manager for the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor project.
Well, my question again, this contract, we're calling for an increase in $4 million, which brings the contract to almost $10 million. And I'm asking why the original contract wasn't that amount to begin with. What's precipitated this increase of $4 million?
Yes, sir. It's been a better understanding of where the project is to date and the requirements that are necessary for the oversight from HNTV Corporation. As stated, as you mentioned, the project is for project management assistance to deliver the much larger design build contract, as well as assist in reviewing and assessing contract terms. We have also, there was a delay in the environmental document. Just a slight delay, but it has pushed some of those deliverables a little bit later. So it is based on the amount of effort that is taken to get to that point.
Well, again, that's the question I have. If it's, I recognize the effort, but why wasn't the original contract in amount $10 million? Did we not anticipate this?
We did not anticipate it to this level, sir. It's just gaining a better understanding of what is required of the oversight from HNTV.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve? I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second by Senator Thomas. All in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye, but explain my vote.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, as the chairman has mentioned, it's almost a 50% almost increase. I don't think we can run our homes that way. And I know we have good people who are doing some of this evaluation. If we have a lot of our areas in the government doing this, we will never be able to look at the budget in a way that makes any sense. So I know that you all won't let this happen again, or at least you'll do your very best not to let this happen again. We're trying to work with you all, and I know you all want to work within the bounds that we try to set. So I do appreciate what you're doing. I just think this is one of those, when we're talking about numbers like this, I think this is really, really, really critical for the people of the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas.
Which I'd like to explain my I vote.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to come at this entirely different from Senator Douglas. I'm aware that with regard to the Spence Bridge and this company in particular, this company has a strong African-American presence. There's a strong African-American presence and component to this project. And I've been on this committee for about a year now. I hear 500 million contracts come here, 1 billion contracts come here, 800 million contracts, and very little do I see any African Americans receiving any of that money. And so I am strongly supportive of this because this African Americans make up about 9% of the state's population. We contribute our tax money to this project, to this state, and we should receive some of those contracts, which is being done with regard to this project and the Brent Spence Bridge. That's a step forward for the state. I support that, and that's why I vote aye.
Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart, Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Again, thank you all for being available to us this morning. I'm sorry for my lapse in not catching that contract earlier. Moving on our agenda. Next items on the pull list are with Department of Insurance. Our numbers 24, 25, 26 on the PSC green list. And I believe representatives are testifying virtually. If you are and you're available to us, please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, this is Victoria Hessen Lloyd. I'm the Director of Financial Standards and Examinations for the Department of Insurance.
Appreciate you being available to us this morning. If you would, please raise your right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I request these contracts be pulled. My question is very simple. It's just an explanation to me. 3 contracts, virtually for all the same services, according to the contract description we had. But one is for $472,000, and the second is for $250,000. The third is for $100,000. Why the differing amounts for these 3 different firms? And just that's my question.
Sure. Thank you. The first one, the Deputy Chief Analyst, Nariette Eldridge, she is part of our accreditation program. She's been working for the DOI for the last 27 years. And she works throughout the whole year. She'll work about 40 hours a week, each week, and what she does is help with our analysis. And we have accreditation coming up in the next 2 years. So she's going to play an instrumental role in helping us hopefully retain our accreditation. So we have her there. And then the next one, we have Examination Resources. It's for $50,000. And we have that one is specifically if we have complex situations within any of our Kentucky companies that need extra actuarial assistance, we can use that particular company for that. So they're all three a little different. The one that's for 250,000, that's the Briggs Solutions. Let's see, Briggs Insurance Regulatory Solutions. This is something that's very specific. It's just for 1 year, and they analyze complex holding structures because sometimes it's difficult to determine if there are unrelated parties within a complex structure. And so this particular company helps determine like the ultimate controlling person. It's a very specific, very complex group of people. There's two specific people, and they're very hard to find across the country, and they will be determining all the related parties within a complex structure.
So you're telling me, even though the contract description is the same, that they're actually different because specific responsibilities for each firm?
That's correct.
The one that was $472,000. So this is for a single individual,
That is correct.
and that's salary.
Well, it ends up being about $110 per hour, and that is the going rate nationally for this particular type of person who has these credentials. And that's for the 2-year cycle.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Being none, is there a motion to approve these three contracts?
I'll make it.
Motion by Representative Pollock. Is there a second? Second by Senator Thomas. All those in favor of the contracts, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Pass.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye, but the vote is 4-5. Excuse me, yes, 5 with 1 passing. So those contracts carry. Thank you for being available to us and providing the information requested.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list are Eastern Kentucky University, and our numbers 33, 37 through 44, 46, 49, 50, 51 on the PSC green list. Thank you for being here this morning. If you would please identify yourself for the record. Make sure your mic is lit. Is it green?
Good morning, Chairman. I'm Micah Hunsucker, the Director of Procurement for EKU.
Good morning. Brian Mackinnon, Chief Campus Operations Officer.
Thank you. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thanks for being here. So there's other places you folks would like to be, but from your letter explaining why we have retroactive approval on these, I appreciate that you are aware that our contract review committee does express disapproval of retroactive start dates as a rule. Probably more than a rule. Probably it's like the 10 Commandments and etched in stone, but it is what it is. But what happened?
Chairman, this was the result of employee error. My office, the Department of Procurement, works with all university offices to put their PSCs into place and to meet those deadlines. We received much of the information for these contracts late. An employee in my office missed that information, and by the time it came to my attention, it was too late for us to turn it around in time for us to meet your deadline. These are ongoing university projects, though, so we felt it best to explain our situation and ask for the approval of the committee. We have since put into place some stopgaps to ensure that this does not happen again. Dr. Mackinnon and I work very closely together to ensure that we communicate. We have spoken with our employees. They have been reprimanded, and we are putting into place deadlines, internal deadlines, and things of that nature to ensure that we do not have to come and ask for this again.
So I'll never see you again. Is that what you're saying?
Well, hopefully under better circumstances.
Well, I hope not as well. And it's easy to kind of discount these things, but you say in your letter that the contracts are vital to a multitude of ongoing university projects. I appreciate that, but to us, legislative review is vital as well to ensure that our funds are being expended appropriately. I'm not suggesting that they're not. But when we have to look at these things retrospectively, there's no way we can give a seal of approval on these sort of things because we haven't had the opportunity to review them. I appreciate the measures you have taken to make sure this doesn't happen in the future, and I hope and pray that it doesn't. And again, I appreciate you recognize the seriousness, and I commend you for that. But it's just very disturbing to me for any organization that you understand that this is part of the process, that safeguards aren't in place to make sure that it happens, particularly if they're vital to your operation of your organization.
Sure, and we understand that, Senator. What I can assure you is that all of these are renewals for the biennial cycle. All of these contracts have been reviewed and approved by this committee previously. We simply renewed the contracts because we reached the end of the biennial period, and that's where we missed the mark.
Alrighty, but it goes a little bit deeper. My concern, it's I was in the hospital business for many years, and we taught a course on customer service and customer relations, and one of these standards was if people see a coffee stains on the floor, they assume that the OR instruments weren't clean property, and that gets to the point of the real issue. If these sort of things happen, what else is amiss within an organization? And I have great respect for Eastern Kentucky University. I think you folks do a great job. But again, if you take care of these small things, the big things have a tendency to take care of themselves. But that's all I have. Is there a motion to approve? Senator Thomas, motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Richard, I'd like to again briefly explain my aye vote.
Yes, please.
First of all, I want to say that Senator Meredith is absolutely right, that it is important to follow the guidelines and the rules and to get things in properly. I mean, I am not going to dispute anything he said. He's absolutely right, and I support what he said. However, I vote aye because I really like what your president's doing over there. You know, being in Lexington, I get to Eastern on a fairly regular basis. I was just in Richmond on Friday, and I think that university and what your president's leadership is outstanding. I would just ask, like Senator Meredith did, that we don't see this mistake again. But for the reasons that I've already elaborated, I'm going to vote aye.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
I'm a no, but it's kind of a symbolic no because you had the votes that these are going to advance, but it's just reinforce how important I think this is to make sure that measures are in place. But with that, contracts are approved. Thank you for being available to us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list with Kentucky State University, and the numbers 58, 60, 61, 62, and 66 on the PSE green list. Certainly good to see you folks again. If you would, please make sure your mic is lit. And if you would, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name is Zach Atwell, and I serve as the General Counsel for Kentucky State University.
Good morning. I'm Vicki Dunaway. I'm the CFO and Vice President.
Good morning. I'm Fran Pinkston. I'm the Procurement Director.
If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. I have questions that I'll let Senator Douglas go first. He's on 61 and 62.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank you all for being here today. We're always out and around our constituents, and they bring a lot of concerns to us, but they also bring a lot of praise from time to time. And there was something that was brought to me, and I really wanted to make sure I had an opportunity to ask this question. There was a concern for one of the previous audits, and just a very straightforward question. Are we starting out at Kentucky State University with virgin audits, or is there sometimes a review of previous, or are we sometimes auditing previous audits and then getting that information? Is that question understood?
Mm-hmm.
If you would, please.
I'll take that question. As you know, we had not produced, previous administration had not produced the 21 or 22 audit.
Mm-hmm.
We contracted with an audit firm to do those. They were also doing our 23 audit. In mid-audit, we decided, because of timeliness and us being under an accreditation warning from SACS, that we needed to switch our audit firms. The information provided for the 23 audit is being shared with the new auditors from our previous audit firm according to a transition contract. They use the information from the 21, 22 audits as historical information. The 22 audit is providing historical information for the 23 audit. The 23 audit is also being done by our new audit firm, and we switched audit firms July 1st.
Ma'am, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
You switched audit firms in July. Which July?
This July 2024.
Okay. Now, okay. Basically, I guess what I'm asking is this. We are using, so am I to understand that we have been using historical data, and we've been distributing historical data regarding the audits at Kentucky State University, or am I to understand that we had an audit team who was auditing and they were looking totally at virgin information, regardless of what happened in July?
Correct. They are looking at our 23 expenses, our revenue. The new audit firm is going back to July 23 to ensure that the audit is going to be presented in a way for SACS that they understand the ability. So the historical information for 21 and 22 is obviously the audits were done, completed, and they're up on our websites. They're public information, but they refer to those audits for historical information. But they also look at all of our practices that we've done in 23 to ensure that we're meeting compliance standards.
I want to make sure that when I ask for an audit, or when we ask for an audit, we're asking for accurate information. Someone else may ask for to meet compliance standards. That's not what we're asking for, right? That's a totally different question. So I think we're kind of confusing the two issues here. At least it's a little confusing to me.
If I may,
Yes, ma'am.
each year's audit is composed strictly of that accurate financial data from each year. Blue & Co., our original auditors, accumulated that data from looking at actual expenditures and the actual data. They weren't going on anything that may have been misrepresented or inaccurately represented prior to that date. They're looking and they're conducting an actual in-depth audit. Just due to the timing, as Ms. Dunaway stated, the new firm is picking up where they left off with coordination from them, but they are looking at actual data and not relying on any past opinions or findings or anything else. It was started with a clean slate.
If I may, one more question. No.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may or may not be able to answer this question accurately, but how accurate or how in-depth or how trustworthy was the ability of those who were keeping the data able to how well were they able to accurately keep the data to give you the data to be able to complete the audit, or at least proceed in the audit? Because one of the concerns that we've always had was some of the efficiency within the university.
Correct. Obviously, we were all not here in 23 when this audit started. We do have some staff that were. We have put many policies and procedures in place. The board just approved some for us to ensure that we are meeting the standards that we need to meet for GASB, for accreditation, for federal and state standards also. We are very attuned to the fact that there were some the audit will have some findings for 23. There's no doubt about that. But we have already started addressing those, so hopefully that will not move forward.
All right. Thank you. Thank you also very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas.
I believe I can clear this up, and thank you all for being here today. Okay. Dr. Capo came here at the beginning of 2023. Okay. And at that time, there were no audits for 21, 22, and 23. Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong. In his first year, he's completed 21 and 22, and you're in the middle of 2023. Okay. But you're running up against some accrediting deadlines, some SACS accrediting deadlines. By September 15th, if I'm correct, they want to get an initial report on if all 3 audits have done. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then by mid-December, December 15th, SACS is going to make a decision as to whether Kentucky State University goes on probation or whether they've met their financial responsibility requirements under SACS rules, correct? Am I right about that? Okay. Your accounting firm was moving slower than you would have liked regarding the 23 audit. They did 21, 22, but they were moving slow on 23. Okay. What you're doing is saying, we've got deadlines we've got to meet, and so we need to hire an accounting firm that's going to get the job finished. Okay. Now, the answer, am I right about that?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, to Senator Douglas's question, which is a good question. Okay. Every accounting item, every auditing item that's going to go into the 23 final report is going to deal with what were the expenses, revenue, expenditures. Every document deals with original, he calls it virgin, original documentation for that period of time. There's no reporting from previous years. This is all original data,
correct,
original records for that 12-month accounting period.
Correct.
Okay. And it seems if I'm correct, then it seems to me that what you're doing is trying to be very responsible, get an auditing firm in here who's going to put forth the people power and the time to meet SACS's requirements.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, and to me that just sounds responsible. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone on this committee that we really appreciate the job that you have done in the short time you've been with the university, and we all know the crisis that it faced, and we were all quite alarmed. And hearing the reports that you made to the Education Committee back in June, I believe it was, I'm very pleased, very enthusiastic about the future of Kentucky State University. My concern is not so much a concern with you folks as it's just an attitude that once we get through a crisis, we have a tendency to kind of take our foot off the gas a little bit. And I think that's the reason for my questions. I'd like some explanation on Contract 60, which is provide a variety of accounting services. I assume this goes back to the issue we're talking about, the audits, that our finance department was greatly lacking and we're not where we need to be yet. So we're paying this additional fee to try to get that rectified in place. Is that fair?
That is correct. We are still short-staffed. We are slowly bringing our staff where they need to be. Obviously, I did not even assume my position until March of this year. So because of that, we have hired two different, these are renewal contracts. Part-time controller was with us last year. They're helping with reviewing all our policies and procedures, ensuring that we have everything in place that we need to as we move forward. And they are still being retained for that reason because of not having the staff that we need. We're not to full capacity yet, but we're getting there.
Well, I'm glad my assumption was correct. My last question is regarding the contracts for attorney fees that are beyond the maximum rate guidelines. And as I look at other contracts throughout this pile of contracts that we have for the universities, they're able to secure attorneys within that 125-hour rate. And I know that has been adjusted for years, but I just want some assurances that we're paying an additional amount because of some special cause situation or some special issues that possibly warrant that. So can you speak to that?
Yes, Senator Meredith, that's correct. So Sturgill, Turner, Barker, Maloney, the attorneys at that firm are recognized as being experts in higher education. They've been with the university since at least 2017, and they've also been the longtime outside counsel for the University of Kentucky as well. So I think in this case, given their expertise, I think it's a reasonable rate that they're charging. And they've advised me that they will continue to honor the GCRC rates for any pre-existing cases. So any cases that they've taken on and agreed to charge the $125 per hour rate, they will continue to charge that. This is just for new cases moving forward.
Well, the firms in question do a lot of business with our Commonwealth, so I would hope that they would recognize that and possibly give you folks an additional discount above and beyond these rates that they have. But I appreciate that explanation. Are there any questions or comments from other committee members? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve all the contracts that have been mentioned.
I make a motion.
I'm on second.
Motion by Representative Chester Burton, seconded by Senator Thomas. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And I'll just finish with please understand that you have our total complete support. And when we ask these questions, we just want to make sure that Kentucky State University succeeds in the future. And we are your partners.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being available to us this morning.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Next items on the pool list are with the Office of Controller and our numbers 74 and 76 on the PSC green list. And we also have number 30 on the PSC Ivory Amendment list. Gentlemen, if you would again, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. I'm Robert Long, General Counsel for the Finance Cabinet.
Good morning. Nathan Goins with the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet.
As much as we've already sworn you in, I think there'll need to be redundant with regard to that. Senator Douglas has questions on number 76 in the PSC green list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome back, gentlemen. I hope this is not too painful. Okay.
Not at all.
Good. My question on number 76 is simply that it talks about provide funds to ensure that referral and confirmation testing can be performed and processed in a timely manner. Is this a change in the amount of previous contracts?
There should be somebody else present online as well from DOC, because they're the primary user of this contract.
Okay.
Well, this is the gravity diagnostics, correct? So this is the COVID testing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's a CHFS. And so if you will introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Moore. I'm the Assistant Director for the Department for Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities. To my knowledge, that is not a change in this renewal. I don't know
Have we not had a decrease in the incidence of COVID?
So, Senator, this is not an increase. It is a renewal of an existing contract. But yes, the utilization of this contract has gone down. I believe CHS can give you some examples, but but we are seeing the utilization continue to come down. And this, please correct me if I'm wrong, because there are the people who use it, but that now this kind of testing is falling within the standard of care like you would see with flu testing and other infectious diseases inside facilities to ensure that we're meeting the appropriate standard of care. But the overall utilization is dramatically lower. And so there has not been a change into the amount. It's just a renewal of the ongoing contract.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Well, I'm just an old country boy, and I continually see contracts that come in here with the same amount, even though utilization goes down, or even though those people needing it go down. And for me, when I talk to my constituents, I'm trying to rectify those two. I'm trying to have something that I can take back to them and say, yes, these numbers have dropped dramatically, yet the same amount is being asked for to cover a greater number. And so I guess what I would ponder for you gentlemen and you is we have constituents who ask us those questions. And sometimes my simple question is, what answers would you give us to give to them as to why we are asking for the same amount of money to cover fewer people?
Well, I'm not sure necessarily it's fewer people. It's just that there's fewer need for the utilization on the number of instances in which the testing is required. And I can't speak for the program units. I think ultimately, though, this is a kind of unique in that we're still we've made it very much through the COVID emergency, but COVID is still very rampant and a concern. And so I think at this point, it's an ongoing contract that's just renewed to ensure we have capacity if necessary. But it is a spend of an up to amount. And so we're only going to utilize what we're actually required to meet the appropriate standard of care in our facilities with the testing. So I don't ultimately have control or exact answer, I don't believe, other than it's to ensure adequate capacity going forward. And then once the renewals are exhausted, there may be a revision to the ultimate contract price.
Thank you very much for your response, and that's the response I was looking for. Understand that you and I, and we, again, and I've said this before, we can sit here and understand this.
Yes, sir.
People of the Commonwealth don't necessarily do that. So I'm trying to get people who come in front of the committee to not necessarily talk with us. It's not our money. It's their money. And so we need to be talking to the people of the Commonwealth and informing them of why we are either holding the line and asking for a certain amount, or why these contracts are for what they are. We know. We get that data. They don't get that data. So I really do appreciate you all taking the time to come in and answer that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we appreciate the question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions regarding contract 76 on the PSC green list? If not, I entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Aye. Representative Chester Burton. Yes. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. That contract is approved. Moving on to the two contracts I request to be pulled. Number 74 on the PSC green list. You know, this is a $185 million contract. It's a whopper, paid to a firm out of Tennessee. I guess I just need some education on this as to how this contract works. Are they subcontracting with Kentucky Dentist for these services, or?
Senator Meredith, I'm testifying on behalf of the Department of Corrections virtually. My name is Hillary Daly, and and I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Support Services.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Please proceed.
Okay. I believe there may be an error in the description on this contract. Dental services are under our contract with Mid-America that was discussed previously. WellPath is our comprehensive inmate medical care contract. This amount listed is a not to exceed amount for a 2-year period. I'm not quite sure how this got listed as dental services, but it is our comprehensive inmate medical and mental health care contract.
Can you kind of give me some idea of the scope of services under this particular contract then?
Yes, it is mental health and medical staffing in our 14 adult correctional facilities. It also includes all medical services for our inmate population, both housed in our institutions and county jails. It includes dialysis, laboratory services, ambulatory, our nursing care facility at the Kentucky State Reformatory, literally any medical needs by our inmate population.
Well, thank you. Is this one of those that it's an amount not to exceed? Is it a possibility it will be less than this?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's a big difference when we're talking about these services versus dental services, and kind of changes the whole complexion of the discussion. But I appreciate that. And any further questions regarding this particular contract? Not entertaining a motion. Motion and a second. All in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Contract's approved. Last contract I requested pulled is number 30 on the PSC amendment list. And my question about this one is for management services, insurance services, and we're increasing by $100,000. Can you explain the increase, please?
Yes, Senator, and Sherry Wisman is joining us. She's a representative of State Risk, and so she will be
Y'all
able
keep
to.
throwing people in here on me. This is kind of confusing me.
Got to make sure we have the experts.
All right. Would you please raise your hand?
Absolutely.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. Thank
Good morning.
you. My name is Sherry Wisman. I'm the director at the Division of State Risk and Insurance Services. So thank you so much for you all having us here today. We understand that there was a modification made to the contract. The current contract was for adjustments for contracting for companies that go out and look at losses. So as you all are aware, the Commonwealth is self-insured up to $5 million. Anything over $5 million, we have to acquire coverage for, and that's for property coverage. Up until last fiscal year, we had a company that we had excess coverage with that would provide those loss control services. I could be here all day to talk about how passionate I am about loss control.
Well, you may be here all day, but I won't be here all day. No,
That's
thank you.
okay. That's all right. I want you guys to understand. So when I started with this division in 2017, during my interview was, if you want someone to write checks for insurance, then I'm not your person. I want to start with prevention first. And so for loss control, it's really important for the Commonwealth and the taxpayers of Kentucky. So with that contract that we had that expired last year, the company left us because we had so many claims. Now those claims were not so much human element claims, they were Mother Nature, who was not kind to us, as you all know. So we had to go back out and look for those services. The new excess carrier company, which is Alliant, started with us last fiscal year, and they did not provide loss control services. That was not part of their contract. I was devastated. So I had to go back to management and say, hey, this is really critical for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We need to start with loss prevention first. Let's try to prevent the human element. We can't control Mother Nature, but we can sort of try to control some human elements things. So we went back. We were looking for a company to acquire those services for us. We found out that Sedgwick, who is our claims adjusters, they actually had a whole division that would provide loss control for us. So we've had such good success with them in the past that we decided to give them a try. So last year, we added to the contract that started that year, loss control services. Around $50,000 is what we had planned to spend. Those services range anywhere from, we have medical facilities, hospitals, universities. So the larger buildings, run around $5,000 for an inspection, all the way down to $150 for inspection. So it just depends on what facility, they're inspecting. So when we go in these facilities, we look for ways to prevent losses. We look at mechanical rooms, we look at the sprinkler systems, the boilers, just making sure that all of those I's are dotted and T's are crossed. This company started with us last year with the loss control side, and they did a great job. So for us to go out and hire a group of people to do, we have over 7,000 buildings that the Commonwealth owns that we insure. So to have employees on staff was going to cost way more than $50,000. So we wanted to see how we would do, with this program. It was successful, so we added, again, to extend this contract 2 more years, up to $100,000, $50,000 each year to be spent for loss control. It is making a difference. I'm going to say that there are other directors in other states that are in the same role that I'm in, and they're looking at Kentucky. They're like, how are you cutting your loss? How are you preventing these things happening? It's because we have a healthy loss control program, and it is very passionate to me. That's where we should start with insurance, and then if we need insurance, then we have it. So that contract modification was added, that $100,000 line was added just for those services alone.
Great. You say there's 7,000 buildings that were covered?
A little over 7,000 buildings, about 7,018 buildings that the Commonwealth currently self-insures, and that ranges from state universities to state agencies, a little bit of everything.
What's the smallest building under the direct control of the Commonwealth of Kentucky?
The smallest building, you're putting me on. Probably some little maintenance building out in one of the farther counties,
No,
I'd say.
this is Kentucky trivia. It's the 4 o'clock out front of
yeah. Okay, well,
just make
pretty
note of
good.
that.
And we do insure that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent answer. Appreciate that. Are there any
Most
other
welcome.
questions, comments?
Just one quick. Thank you for this information. I'm an insurance agent, so loss control. Obviously, we do have insurance companies leaving the state of Kentucky for obvious reasons. Loss control is a very big and important part of like you just explained. My question was, do you guys schedule, loss control for each of the facilities? I think you mentioned a $5 million building and that above. I'm just kind of curious on how you're approaching who needs a loss control analysis type of thing. Just share on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is sort of my baby, as I said. We look at buildings that are what would cost the Commonwealth the most if we lost it. So we start with the top expensive buildings. Like we look at, hospitals, the larger universities have the biggest buildings. So we start with that process. We start with the biggest and work our way down to the smallest, which would be the 4 o'clock. So we would start at that process and work our way down. However, because our universities have so many buildings that are insured with the Commonwealth across the whole state, we want to be fair to other agencies that may have some smaller buildings that could be like, we have 17 resorts with Kentucky State Parks, where we have people that sleep, what we call heads in beds. That is critical for me because let's all face it, we've had college students who leave home, they go to college, university, and they go to sleep, and they don't hear the alarms that go off sometimes. So we want to make sure that those buildings are definitely looked at. They're critical to us. So anything that's what we call heads in beds, which would be the 17 resorts plus the universities. However, we also try to sprinkle those down to the correctional facilities because let's face it, they can't just get up and walk out. So we want to make sure that every agency has the ability to have some of those inspections. We have recently gone up and met with Berkshire Hathaway, which is a big company that binds our excess, part of our excess. And we were able to sort of change their minds. They didn't have a loss control program. And we went to them and said, if you guys are going to do business with agencies as large as us, you should really think about prevention first. They came back and said, we like doing business with the Commonwealth, and we're going to cut $9 million off of your contract this year, which is a contract that we have with the excess. So with that was showing that Kentucky is standing out, and they have audited, sort of looked at how we do those programs. How do we choose those companies and agencies? And I think we're pretty fair about that. We, like I said, we try to sprinkle it out throughout the whole state so it's not heavy in one area or another. We do have more risk in certain parts of the state, like Western Kentucky with the Nemadrit Fault Line. So we try to look at putting seismic gas valve shutoffs so that buildings don't gas escapes into those buildings. So we try to sprinkle it across the whole state.
Mr. Chair, it's obvious she's very passionate about what she's doing.
So much so that Senator Douglas has agreed to stay on afterwards so that y'all can continue this discussion.
Absolutely, most definitely.
If there are any other questions, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Chester Burton. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
I vote aye, but Mr. Chairman, my schedule unfortunately will not allow me to do that.
I understand. Thank you.
You can contact me anytime.
Senator Thomas.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to explain my aye vote briefly.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I vote aye, and I will tell you, you were delightful to listen to. You obviously represent the best that we have in our state employees.
Oh my, thank you.
Representative Chester Burton. Yes. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye, and I echo Senator Thomas's remarks. It's refreshing to have you come before our committee. I appreciate your passion for what you do.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
That really means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you both, or thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate your passion too.
She's an all-star. We're lucky to have her.
Next item on the pull list, Department of Medicaid Services, number 1 on the PSC Amendment Ivory list. And the sacrificial lamb is coming forward.
I know. I'm not going to be able to top her. And I'm like, oh, you've got the C team here today. Oh, okay. Sorry. Astrid Masterson, Executive Director, Office of Administrative Services for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services.
Appreciate you being here. Good to see you again. If you would,
Good to
please
see
raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Senator Douglas and I both have questions about this contract. So, Senator, would you like to proceed?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate that, and thank you, Ms. Masterson, for your bravery.
Thanks.
This is a $30 million contract, and Mr. Chairman, I do have 3 questions, if you will.
Yes.
When I read the description, it says to enhance the efficacy and the effectiveness of the Medicaid program. First question: was the Medicaid program designed to be a temporary safety net or a permanent hammock?
So I apologize, Senator. I'm probably not the appropriate person to answer that question. We did have this contract come before the committee last month where Commissioner Lee and Secretary Freelander were here to discuss. And the issue this month is just that a vendor was left off the contract that had a change. So I apologize in that aspect. I'd be happy to take your question back and take it to Commissioner Lee on that.
I've asked the question before, and I think everyone knows the answer. The only reason I ask is because we're asking about a consulting contract.
Sure.
And if I'm going to hire a consultant, I want to make sure that I have a consultant who understands what it is that they're consulting for.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'm wasting my money. Question number 2, and you may not be able to answer this question either. Though, again, please understand that this is not about you. It's about the fact that we're hiring a consultant.
Sure.
Someone who is there to benefit and enhance and make things more effective. So my second question would have been, do we feel the program or the system is working adequately?
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm not the appropriate person for that, but I'd be happy, again, to connect Commissioner Lee with you in regards to that, or Secretary Freelander.
Okay. Well, with that being said, Ms. Masterson, and I think you're doing, you're fine.
Okay.
And I certainly don't mean to embarrass you, and I
No,
apologize
no.
if I am.
I just feel like I'm failing you, so
I
sorry.
will yield my third question.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And my question was, again, just clarification that we're adding an additional vendor to this $30 million contract to provide consulting services to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, that we're not sure what's going to be within the scope of those agreements. Is that right?
So it was an existing vendor. It was complete administrative error of being left off last month. So it is a vendor that was available previously. It was just completely, they bought another company, and that change was left off accidentally.
Curious, who caught the error? Did they bring it to your attention, or did someone?
No, our team found it.
Yeah.
Our team caught it. Yeah.
Okay.
So pure
right.
error on our side.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion. Thank you, Senator. Is there a second? Is there a second? There being none, I'm sorry, Chester Burton, thank you, appreciate that. Motion second, all those in favor vote aye, all opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
I cast a pass. I'm going to pass, but may I explain my pass vote, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
And the reason I do has nothing to do with you, is that one of the charges that we have on this particular committee is to evaluate the contracts. It is difficult for me to evaluate a contract when I have simple questions and the consultants themselves aren't here to help me understand how they are going to enhance and make more effective and make more efficient, which is why they're being hired in the first place. So this is not a reflection on you, and again, I that's why I said I really respect your bravery, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton, Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart, Chairman Meredith.
I'm voting aye, but I'd like to explain my vote. I'm swallowing really hard on this one. Last month when these contracts were presented, I voted no, and they moved forward. This is kind of a technical correction, but to share Senator Douglas' sentiment here, in the description says that all vendors authorized under this contract will have the opportunity to bid for projects. My position still is, well, if there's a project that's specifically identified, then why don't we have a separate RFP just for that, and it comes before this committee to see if it's appropriate that it should be done or should be done by personnel within the Medicaid cabinet. What we're doing in essence is giving the cabinet, Department for Medicaid, a blank check for $30 million to buy consulting services, and we will not get to see those before this committee. So that's my problem, but again, I know it's a technical correction, so I'm voting aye. So contract, the amendment to the contract is approved. But thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your passion too. We appreciate that.
Yay!
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Next item on the pull list are with Facility Support Services, are number 16 through 26 on the PSC Amendment Ivory list. Yeah, this is just your month, isn't it?
Yeah, Robert Long, General Counsel. So I'm back again, but again, our star today will definitely be Mr. Baker here.
All right, Mr. Baker, if you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The question at hand is numbers 12. Wait a minute, I gotta find my list. 16 through 26 on the PSC green list. Thank you for staff for bringing that to my attention. All of these contracts I've requested pull, and we're seeing significant increases in the original contracts. And the descriptions all say, provide additional design services for work as directed by the Commonwealth. And some of these increases are significant. My question is, why aren't those things included in the original request for proposal so we don't have to increase these contracts?
Well,
and it looks like it's pretty common knowledge that, well, we've got this contract for this particular project. Hey, while we're here, let's go ahead and take a look at this as well.
So these are, again, architectural engineering projects, and so many of these are established as a pool project or an overall project to look at like the entire, pulling a couple of them out, like the entire West for Department of Corrections. So that project was established to look at all the facilities in the western part of the state from a mechanical electrical standpoint. So that contract is going to continue to increase each time we, from the study, devise additional work that has to be done at that campus. That original RFP was written to expand after the initial study identified the work, and then as funding becomes available, it makes the most sense for the taxpayer to have that initial consultant that did the study, that's already done the lead work and done all the background work, to then proceed with the design for the solution once they're established. So for some of them, that's the case. They're each different in that regard. So, I mean, if I go through the list, number 16, the Paladin contract at the Joint Force Headquarters out of Boone National Guard Center. So that additional work was for an additional lead certification testing that was added at the end for additional envelope testing and lead certification. That was not.
But you're making my point for me. If that's additional, why wasn't that anticipated on the front end? Or does it warrant a separate RFP for that?
Your commissioning agent for the project is Paladin, and it was awarded to them as the commissioning agent, and the project was established so that it could expand to the additional services as they became required. So again, the RFP is written with that expansion built into it. Everyone that entered into that RFP initially that gave us proposals understood that contract, once awarded, was then going to expand to do the entire scope as it developed throughout the building.
That doesn't give me a sense of security at all. Let's go to number 23 here. We're increasing that by $75,000. So originally it was a $225,000 contract to provide funds for architectural selection services for roofing design.
So this is Department of Corrections, western part of the state roof projects. Originally, the consultant went and did a study on every prison in western Kentucky.
Got that?
And then, as part of that contract expands as funds become available to actually implement the project to replace the roof. And again, at the front end, we don't know which roofs we're going to have to replace, which ones what we're going to need to do until the study's done. So to have established a full contract amount on the front end would have been very disadvantageous to the Commonwealth, because we may have established a contract for stuff we weren't even going to do. So we have to do the study on the front end, and that's what the majority of these, many of these are, is they're structured and set up to function that way.
Senator Meredith, if I could add, and I think it's just a little bit lost in translation, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but that these were, when procured, these architectural and design firms are set out to basically do a study and try to help us identify what needs to be done. And then for efficiency and cost, the ones who have done that part of the project are then given allowed to expand to actually do the design work. Now, the actual completion and construction work, lots of that stuff will be subject to being bid
That
out.
all has to be bid.
That will be bid out appropriately, and so that, but it is a efficiency and cost savings to allow the company who does the study to determine kind of what is the problem that needs to be remedied, to then propose a remedy that we can then implement.
So again, these are the design services. So if they go do the study and the evaluation and determine these 4 buildings need new roof, these 4 buildings need a new roof in 6 years or 8 years, then they use that to develop their capital plan. But then the design services for those new roofs, the best advantage and the best use of the taxpayer dollar is to have that firm do those design documents, and then we do the procurement, we do the bid process for the contractors to actually do those 4 roofs, not any of the others, because they're not due yet. So in that particular instance, and that applies to many of these for their various disciplines of work that may be taking place. But to do a new RFP or a new design contract for each roof would cost the taxpayer much more money, and the fact that each new consultant brought on board would have to go through the initial discoveries, the initial understanding of the project, the basic building designs, CAD drawing, all of those things involved in designing a project, they wouldn't already have. So this is by far the most advantageous way to implement these projects for the taxpayer. That's
Representative McCool, help me out here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to get some clarification for
Yes,
myself.
sir.
In construction, it sounds like to me this is a change order, which the cost goes tremendous, and the contractor is the only one that can can actually do the work, so the price goes up. So for the architectural services, you're calling this an expansion. Is expansion and change order similar or same thing?
it is a change to the contract, yes, sir. The difference is in a construction change order that this consultant would create in most cases for us, then that is typically not negotiated. These adjustments are negotiated on fee proposal. So we will do the initial study, and then we'll come back and we'll say, okay, those 4 buildings we identified, give us a fee proposal to do those roofs. If they come back with a fee proposal that doesn't line up with what the industry standard is, what we're used to seeing, then we will negotiate that fee down at that point to get it to where it needs to be. But it is a change to their overall contract. So in fact, yes, sir, it is a change order. It's advice of change is what it's technically called in our lingo, but it's done on a change order form.
Mr. Chairman, can I make another comment?
Yes,
question?
please.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. So dealing with construction, knowing that when you have a new building, whatever, the fewer change orders that you can have, the less expensive that building's going to be. Because anytime you do a change order, only the contractor that's doing the services can bid on it. Only they can do the job. So they have a blank check on what they can charge. You say there's maybe some oversight to that. I'm not sure how that works if they're the only one who bids that or the only one that can do that. So I have a great concern that you're releasing a lot of change orders, and I've done construction and I know what that is. So when you do that, I mean, it can easily get out of hand, and it's very expensive for the taxpayer.
I agree, and I'm a former contractor myself, so I agree completely with you on the construction side. But on the design services side, it is different in the fact that if they don't give us a price we like, then we can opt out and go back and do another RFP or do a master agreement selection and have the services brought in by master agreement if it's going to be within those thresholds. But again, 9 times out of 10, because this is not, again, their original contract, just to stay on the one that Senator Meredith brought out, the Patrick Murphy contract for DOC West, their original contract did not design the roofs for KSP. What it did is an evaluation of the roofs for the entire Western Kentucky portfolio. And then from that, we have derived that, okay, KSP, we want to do a further in-depth study. And That's what they're doing. So it's not a change order to previous work. It is a change order of it is a change, I said it wrong. It is a change order to previous work in the fact that they've done this initial study, but they've not done the design of any of that. Now we're having them come in and do the design of what was discovered in the study. Does that make, am I making sense to you? You have to do that study on the front end. And it only makes sense to have the firm that you've already paid to do the study to do the design work on the back end. And that's what the majority of these are. It's where, and again, in the spirit of fairness to all the consulting firms out there that may be interested in performing that work, that is part of the initial RFP of where their fee is negotiated on the fact that this initial contract is only going to be for this amount, but it is going to expand to potentially this amount if we provide the services as required by the Commonwealth and meet their needs. So that's all in the original RFP where it says that this is going to expand to do these other things.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one more comment, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. But my concern is the architects knew from the start that the expansion option is there. So as more opportunities come in, they know when they bid up on the first bid that there's possibility that they're going to reap in a lot more dollars for expansion opportunities. So they know that. So they may be a little low at first just so they can get those opportunities. I'm just hesitant about not knowing exactly what you're going to be doing and do what you said you're going to be doing from day one, and leaving it open-ended out there for possibility for further expenses. I like everything up front. This is what we expect, and this is what we're going to get from it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Douglas, question, comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I share those exact same concerns. I'm not in the construction business, at least not of that type of structure. And I'm not questioning the sincerity of those people who are involved. We simply ask questions because we're trying to learn. We're trying to educate ourselves as well as everyone else. But in simple terms, it's almost like there's a possibility for initially lowballing, again, knowing that in the end, they're likely gonna pick us, and we can make it up on the other end. The system seems awfully complicated. I guess at some point, I would ask from those professionals, is there a way to simplify or to further simplify this system? Because the way it's being done now is really fraught with danger. It just is.
If I may, these contracts aren't selected and awarded originally based on price. Okay, so you understand, these contracts are selected by a selection committee through very precise statutory requirements of how they're selected based on their skill and expertise and specific knowledge concerning the specific scope of the project. So that front end established there's no way they can lowball us on the front end because there is no contract. That's not part of the negotiation of the contract. The negotiation of the contract, or the selection for the contract, the selection for the contract is based on their merit, is based on their ability to perform the work the Commonwealth needs for that particular project.
And I would add, Senator Douglas, that this is largely governed by statute. I mean, Scott and his department have not utilized this process just out of thin air. I mean, the statutes 45A do actually govern and guide this process.
I believe that, and that may be something that we need to look at in modifying the statute. I'm not blaming him for following at all.
We do what we do.
I'm saying that even I know this is hard to believe that sometimes when statutes are designed and voted on and passed, sometimes they may not be as efficient. I know that's hard to believe, but they may not be as efficient for the people of the Commonwealth as they need to be. And this may be an area that we definitely take a look at.
But I agree. But to that point, this methodology, and to me, and again, as Sherry and I work very closely together, and I carry her passion for what we do and the taxpayer dollar. This methodology by far brings the most efficient use of the design funds for these projects, because if we start over 2 and 3 times during a project with design teams, each startup is another wasted 15-20% of their fee, because they're having to learn about that particular building, that particular site, and what we're doing. So the continuity of services is extremely critical in the design process. If we were to start with the annex renovation and change consultants every year throughout it rather than amend their contract, it would cost us a lot of, we're going to see the same thing on this contract for the design here.
Representative Pollack, do you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I'm obviously, I don't want to beat the dead horse here, but I think in hearing all the comments and all, and I'm not a construction person, but obviously the contract amount is the study. We all know that.
The original contract amount.
The original contract amount. My question, I guess, would be is if we could, in that, I guess, original contract RFP, to have another part of this increase to specifically say the amount here is for design. I don't, again, in that contract to say specifically what that would cost. It's kind of the clarification of this whole process, because right now this is just an increase type of thing, and obviously you're saying that extra increase is the design work done by these same people who are doing the studies.
Yes, sir. In most of these cases.
And so to clarify and check mark the boxes, maybe that, I don't know, in constructing that part of the design, to specifically have that RFP to show specifically how much that amount would be for the design instead of just the study. Does that make sense?
Well, so, and again, that design is developed based on the study. So we don't know on the front end that we're going to replace
the study is completed.
All those roofs, or we're going to replace all that mechanical equipment. Again, the one from BCCLT is a firm out of Louisville. They're doing all of the West HVAC and electrical. So they now have a very in-depth understanding of every
and
campus.
I get that
out
part
there.
of it. I totally get that.
So that was their original, and now as the kitchen at one of the facilities has gone down, we immediately are able to call them in under that contract, do a change to that contract for them to immediately go ahead and design the replacement of the kitchen components, and that it's actually a sewer failure and so forth. So that, because they already have that knowledge, it again is a saver for us in the long run to have those in place. But again, it causes contract amendments, because to issue a blanket contract on the front end with a bunch of unknowns and speculation on what you're going to do is not going to serve us or at all, because then you've not defined your scope there either. This way more clearly defines the scope at each step of the process.
Well, and to Mr. Baker's point, I mean, his shop does have a lot of their own expertise, and they are aware of kind of industry standards and appropriate. Like if someone's design price is really out of beyond what would be expected had it go out to bid, I mean, they do still have the ability to negotiate and to reject that and ultimately change course. They're not necessarily locked in. But the advantage here is, again, that efficiency and the ability to not have to start again and duplicate some of the work. Some of the work has already been completed within the study. You can build upon that, and you have the efficiency to move quicker with a design. So you also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it helps speed up the project, which we constantly have inflation pressures that are putting on to the projects where costs are constantly going up. So the quicker we can move is also a potential efficiency and cost savings for the Commonwealth.
I think you've gotten to the essence of my concern, but to be very succinct about that, looking at number 25, these for architectural services for KSU. Original contract was about 720,000, increased by 731,000. Are you telling me that that 731,000 can be negotiated? Is negotiated?
Every fee increase is negotiated. Yeah, I mean, and I will spend probably in the course of the week, me and the project managers, I will spend minimum of 10 to 15% of my time on various contracts. Understanding we currently have over 1,000 construction projects going on and out of my shop, but we will negotiate the fees on either whether it be a change order to a selection committee contract or whether it be a design services done by master agreement.
All right, that's duly noted. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Is there a motion to approve all these contracts? Is there a motion to disapprove these contracts? There being, not being a motion in either direction means that the contracts will proceed to Finance Cabinet. They are, and as it's approved. But appreciate the education this morning, appreciate the information, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list are Department of Local Governments, number 12 and 19 on the Emerald Pink list.
Mr. Chair, point of order, please.
Yes, please.
I'm going to have to leave because we got the AI meeting at 11, and I know you're on that committee too, but I'm going to leave at this point.
We'll lose our quorum, so to that end, would you like to make a motion to defer these last contracts until the next
I
meeting?
would. I move that we defer these last contracts to our September meeting.
I second.
All right, thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, vote aye. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton, Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. And before everybody runs off, we do need a motion on the exemption requests that are the final agenda items. This is routine. This lets them go beyond the biannual period. Motion, is there a second? Second by Chester Burton. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton, Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart, Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. Next meeting will be September 10th at 9 o'clock. Appreciate everybody's